One, to the Japanese sports marketing, companies or sporting goods companies, because they don't seem to be doing well. They haven't really made it to the global sort of stage as yet. They always wished, and they make pretty good products, but they haven't achieved the same kind of success that you have achieved. What advice do you give to them?
Well, obviously they're competitors of ours, and
so
I'll give them that advice, right? No, I don't. But I don't really think there is any kind of one key. I think that part of it is really just basically willing to make the investment in some of these other countries, and so that we have
in the brand or in the distribution.
Yeah, all of it.
Athletes.
That athletes, brand, distribution, and it's a very, very competitive business, and so I think there's it's just kind of a question of if you want to do that bad enough. I mean, I know that it gets very expensive to do it when you have we have to be willing to stay in the business and stay in say if you're going to be in Italy or wherever it is, you really have to kind of be willing to stay the course. We were fortunate, I think, to have coming out of a strong basis in the United States, having athletes that had worldwide recognition before we went into, say, the European market. It gave us great entree. Yep. It also gave us a little bit of a false impression that we knew what we were doing, because at the end of the day, you also have to have good marketing in the community that you're working in, be it England or France or Germany, and so and the other flip side of kind of what you said is we're not particularly all that good at that yet either. Another comment by that same advisor that I talked about earlier is that you want to be a global corporation, you better be willing to work at it for 10 or 15 years.
Of course, you started out production of the sneakers here in Japan, and most Japanese companies remained in Japan as a producer, whereas you have gone into China, Vietnam, Indonesia, and other places, and therefore the cost of production is high, price not as high as yours, therefore the margin is squeezed. So obviously you can give them advice that they should invest in athletes' brand and distribution. They don't seem to have that margin, so they have to somehow come out of this vicious cycle.
That's a big part of it too. And I always look at Coca-Cola, they have 60% margin. I said, how can we get like that?
Oh, I see. Okay, you always look to those good examples. The last advice I would like to get from you on behalf of those young people who are watching this is this notion of entrepreneurship. They keep challenging these new goals. What advice do you give to those young people who are now working for large companies, wishing to start something new? What advice would you give to them?
Well, I think there's two things. I think the first thing is they can't just kind of wish to go out and be in business for themselves. They have to have something they want to do.
Right.
They have to want to be in a certain business, and if it fails, to stay in that business. And then the other piece of advice that I always remember that I got just before I started business is, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you better live by the rule, the only time I must not fail is the last time I try.